morning to everybody, or good afternoon, as the case may be where you are. We're going to talk about an area of payroll today that it's difficult because it's just so broad. I mean, it's just so much to take in. And that is basically deducting everything out of an employee's paycheck. So we've got to the gross, and we know what the gross wages are. Now we got to get to the net. So what we're looking at today are a lot of the deductions that you might have to deal with. Now, we're not going to talk about 401ks or 125s because, HR sets that up and you just take them out according to however HR sets them up. So there's really nothing there that would be needed to be discussed when we're looking at deductions. What we're going to look at are the deductions that cause the most trouble, like taxes or the garnishments of child support, tax levies, creditor garnishments, voluntary wage assignments, but also we'll touch on the fringe benefits, but we'll touch on them as a group because basically they all get lumped together. But we also look at things that we want to deduct from an employee's paycheck, that like uniforms. We have our employees wear uniforms. Can I deduct that from their paycheck? We provide meals or lodging. Can I deduct that, from the cost of that? What are the rules on that? What if our employee is got a short in their cash drawer or they break something? Can I take that out of their payment? If I overpay somebody, can I get the money back? If I give advanced vacation pay and the employee quits, can I get that back? What if I give loans to employees or have employees purchase items? And all of this now comes into focus because we have something called anti-wage theft laws that are on the rise. In fact, the Biden administration is thinking of passing one on the national level, which would be kind of strange because we don't have any other laws that really affect the anti-wage law. But anyway, it's a start. So when we look at deductions, the questions we always seem to have are, how much control does the employee have over these? So in other words, can the employee just say don't do this or do that? So we look at deductions divided into two types. Okay, there's voluntary. Now that the employee has complete control over. That's things like health insurance or 401k or 125 plan or dependent care. The employee voluntarily, decides to take it out, stock options, things like that. But there are the other side of this, which are called involuntary deductions. And that means somebody else orders you to do it. You don't have a choice. Example, taxes. So when we have voluntary and involuntary deductions. Now I know in your payroll system, you've got dozens of buckets for different kinds of deductions. But under the law, there's only these two types. And so when we look at it, we say, who controls what? And what is mandatory? Okay, what is something that we can control, and what is something that we have no control over but have to still do? So let's look at all of those different items. The first one we're going to start, of course, we always start with taxes because that's the first thing that everybody talks about coming out of their paycheck. So when I'm going to deduct for taxes, I have to look at which ones are mandatory, which ones are a courtesy, which ones do the employees control. So the first tax that always comes up is federal income tax. So we do what we call a pay-as-you-go system. We enacted this during World War II. Taxes are constitutional because of the 16th Amendment. So if somebody comes up to you and says, I don't want you to take out federal income tax because it's unconstitutional, it's not possible to be unconstitutional if you're an amendment to the Constitution. Okay? It does that's like saying you're not human because you're human. That's about the way it works, okay? So it is perfectly legal, and you are required by law to take out the federal income tax, okay? So basically, the federal income tax is listed under the Internal Revenue Code, the IRC, or sometimes they just call it the code, okay? And you are required to take it out of the employee's paycheck based either on their W-4 form or supplemental tax rates, okay? Now, when you start doing the nuances of these laws, there are differences in some places. For example, if I were a non-resident alien